Shalom family, it's your man Elijah. Thank you for joining me in Unsectarian Wisdom as usual. I'm a wise, wealthy, rich, celestial being that is loved by the Most High Creator. Let's go ahead and jump in, family. Jumping back into Terra. Well, you see it in the corner. We're getting into chapter 26, the continuing journey of William Morris. My father returned to these lands, to the lands where he was born. He longed day after day, planning over and over again how he could return to help those he considered he had left behind, his brothers, as he referred to them. Knowing this great and painful truth was killing him every day. Imagine knowing that your brothers were dying in a veritable hell of wars, manipulation, and pestilence, and that nothing you could do on the other side, where your life was also in danger. For by then the keepers had begun to attack the lands beyond, which until that time had been kept silent. Not only that, but the custodians had encountered a great city of giants and giant humans who were not only traitors to them, and therefore deserving of the worst punishment. By all accounts, the Anunnaki did not decide to take part in these attacks, and the custodians were quickly expelled from the lands. The technology by then quite advanced, thanks again to the help of the Anakim. This surprised the custodians, who returned to the known lands, with the fear of the possibility of losing them. They then tried to reinforce the walls with all the technology and military possible. A time of ridiculous treaties and military bases all over the area was coming to prevent any human being from being able to reach the truth. Now, was that enough? Was that enough to prevent our ships from getting through their bases? Alright, now chapter 27. You know they're short chapters. Go ahead and do that. The Infiltrators. Double, so do the problems. When they least expected it, the custodians had in their most precious colony around 14,000 infiltrated ancestors. This network we created was part of the Morris Butler plan, together with giant leaders and several races that also participated and still participate in silence for human liberation. We knew the danger of infiltrating these lands, as the custodians could never know that this amount was infiltrated, helping and informing many humans about the other worlds, the spiritual potential, and the true human history. This could cause an immediate reset. Everything was delicate, and we could not be noticed in a treacherous way. At the beginning, it was not a big problem to overcome the barriers, military bases, custodial technology with radars that even cause earthquakes, and a myriad of obstacles that we knew how to overcome. But not everything was happiness, and we knew that sooner or later it could happen. An alarm went off, earthquake, near what you know as Antarctic. Oh, my bad. Near what you know as Antarctic Peninsula, or we know as false Antarctica. A group of people traveling from the Ancestral Republic encountered a military base patrolling the area in an icebreaker. Our people sank the ship when they tried to escape. In this irredeemably echoed in the great spheres. They began to chase everyone in every corner you can imagine. With great lies and excuses, they went into homes in many countries where they feared we were hiding for 10 years or more. They searched for every clue and began to use technology to control the movements of the new humanity. Although they already had this type of technology, they completely reinforced it after the Peninsula incident. All this complicated the plan, and it was a complete setback since we had people infiltrated in the high spheres. Politics, lodges, organizations, companies, universities, etc. This was a bit of an ice water bucket since we had been counteracting with our technology and custodial detection, and a great advance was being made to be able to finally carry out, in a timely manner, the transfer of many of the people who were beginning to awaken. Many of the 14,000 had to return. The fear was already a reality, and some ancestors died in the worst possible ways as they were sentenced as traitors. I will not detail the many tortures they suffered. Captain Butler returned to our lands in solitude. I will never forget that day. My eyes filled with tears because it was the day I knew I would never embrace my father again. Let's keep going. Chapter 28. Butler approached my mother and me, crestfallen, and his eyes in blood. He was also wounded in arm and a leg. Those 10 or 15 meters were the most eternal of my life. When he was finally close to us, he looked up and could not hold back his tears. My father had died in the known lands, at the hands of the custodial military technology near the Antarctic zone. The custodians had delivered 2 commandos and military leaders of certain countries advanced. The custodians had delivered 2 commandos and military leaders of certain countries advanced technology that they did not even know how to use. This was extremely dangerous for all life within the wall lands. In fact, the custodians knew very well that this was a big mistake and put at risk their own colony. I think that although they were experienced in war, they did not handle well that a race could overcome them, or the danger that entailed losing those lands. They mistakenly decided to give technology unknown to the new humanity, only to help them in quantity against the ancestors who were returning to their lands. Many humans were also doing so with them. The humans were also given knowledge of weather modification and environmental manipulation. The humans were also given knowledge of weather modification and environmental manipulation. The custodians really went into despair. The ship Iron Blue, where my father was traveling along with some ancestors and humans of the new reset, disintegrated in mid-air while crossing the Antarctic skies. A large invisible barrier was created by the custodians just before the dome, of course. This was not known at the time, and many ships were destroyed. To put it simply, they blocked the part of the dome that we had opened by air. Butler was returning with William in another ship and told in detail about the death of my father. Butler managed to survive by a miracle. It was undoubtedly the worst moment of my life, and I really felt a lot of frustration and helplessness towards these lands. At that moment, I lost track of custodians and new humanity. I only thought about if it was really worth my father dying for a cause that seemed lost from the beginning. With time, I understood, and now I understand. I feel it in my heart. I am also part of these lands, and I know that my father wanted as much as I do now, that humanity is freed forever. This technology that the custodians gave to some leaders of the new humanity had also brought several inconveniences with the known lands between countries that used part of this technology to threaten, even attack each other. Once again, just the way it's a translation, family. This technology that the custodians gave to some leaders of the new humanity had also brought several inconveniences within the known lands between countries that used part of this technology to threaten and even attack each other. The use also, that's what I was talking about. The use also, I guess this means they use, the use also to make ships, planes, and all kinds of transport. Jeez, man, the way this sentence, hold on. This technology that the custodians gave to some leaders of the new humanity had also brought several inconveniences within the known lands between countries that used part of this technology to threaten and even attack each other. They also used it to make ships, planes, and all kinds of transport disappear. People disappearing. God dang it. Look, hold on. Okay. This technology that the custodians gave to some leaders of the new humanity had also brought several inconveniences within the known lands between countries that used part of this technology to threaten and even attack each other. The use also to make ships, planes, and all kinds of transport disappear. People disappearing disintegrated to them. All this added to the knowledge given on the manipulation of the climate and the environment was in short a chaotic era that continues today. It has been feared since then that humanity would be destroyed in absurd wars with the use of biological weapons, or that the custodians would decide to reset for fear that they would be exterminated, or even that humans would use this technology to attack them. Obviously, the third option was the one that was farthest from happening. Alright, that's the end of chapter 28. Now let's get in chapter 29. That last part, family, is difficult. I'm not gonna lie. The way they struck, if you buy the book, you'll see what I'm talking about in a lot of these parts. Chapter 29, turning the human farm into eternal freedom. I understand that you may be wondering, so where did the whole plan go? And it is a question I want to answer before I finish. Changes are going to happen. The plan was never abandoned. In fact, after my father's death, it impacted the Republic more, as William was well loved along with Butler, and they represented the face of freedom and the direct link to the known lands. The fight against the custodians never ceased, and we remained steadfast against their oppression, manipulation, and control of these lands, as well as other races. Unfortunately, we could not move to the next phase yet, because this takes time. The new humanity has a long way to go on this spiritual path. First, it must free itself from its own mind, which controls it and does not leave it even a second to breathe. To be able to silence those inner voices that are nothing more than a custodial control that they implanted since the beginning of this last cycle. The thousands of thoughts that come into your minds control you and many times break your dreams. Most of them are simply negative thoughts. The competition you are subjected to and the division between you for almost every cause. The competition you are subjected to and the division between you for almost every cause that takes place here are really exhausting and can lead you to the easy path of the surrender. This energy drain and sense of constant struggle to any race on any world would have wiped you out long ago, and you are still standing. It only remains for the majority to know where the real enemy is. There macrobe psychological games that generate division among you, and to break this control and conditioning. The new humanity has an admirable resistance to adversity, an infinite potential for spiritual growth, which is something we must exploit and can be taught from an early age. They will instead try to manipulate the children with weapons and distraction, bombard their minds, and continue to try to create robots that follow their dogmas and patterns without question. They will use the usual, the big media, the men and women recognized by degrees that are only given in the corrupt universities that they call distinguished or outstanding, of which very few have access. They will also use the manipulated part of science, and anyone who gets in their way, they will try to ridicule them first, and then attack them in every possible way. I do not mean to leave studies or the universities, but on the contrary, maybe one of the ways would be to enter there. Maybe one of the ways would be to enter there and be the best in each field, to be able to modify from within everything that is corrupted or manipulated by them. Anyway, we have a totally different system than the current one in these lands. Within our plan is also this: to be able to enhance the greatness of the real scientific advancement. Unfortunately, The ancestral and giant human advancement was destroyed or simply hidden from the new humanity. We will continue with the struggle to make this humanity understand that if they unite in true love, nothing would stop them. That their brothers are out there and also in here waiting for the right moment. That we have never forgotten them. Many lost their lives trying to save them, and it will continue to be so. The ancestral technology will continue looking for the way to end this control. There are many other races that overcame the custodians and were able to free themselves. This is possible, but the human being will not be left easily because he has inside what no other race has. We are the source of life, the possible reason for this great dome, and surely the direct connection to other worlds beyond. We are different and with a potential that few would imagine, with all the conditioning received in a life in these lands. We are still in these lands, and we will continue standing here, fighting together with you, those who woke up from this bad dream called human farm, and want to turn it into a eternal freedom. Alright, family, that's the end of this book. I got 2 more books to go, but as far as, okay, actually, no, I'm going to do one more video because I didn't read chapter 1 and 2 when I first started the book. I jumped straight into, reading about the different lands. But we'll finish it off with the last 2 chapters in the next video, family. But man, I look so short. I got my chair. Without further ado, family, look, I will catch y'all later. Honestly, there's a lot of familiarity to. Well, I just want to speak on these last few chapters real quick. It'd be funny if this was really just like this, if all this really was just an analogy of today's world and everything we're going through, and none of this is real. But I do truly believe that there is truth to there's even I don't believe that all of this is true, but I believe that there is still a lot of truth in here. You just have to do the studying to connect the dots. You know what I'm saying? Like, some parts of this are real, some are fake. Maybe the girl whose father died in the chapter, in the final chapter, or was that second to final? Anyway, maybe the girl whose father died because they said his ship hit an invisible barrier, maybe that part is fake. Maybe even the part about the girl is fake. But maybe William Morrison is real. Just saying. Anyway, family, with that said, thank you for joining me. It's your man Elijah, and this is Unsectarian Wisdom, and as usual, I'm a wise, wealthy, rich, celestial being that is loved by the Most High Creator. I'll catch you later, family. Be blessed. Shalom. Oh, it's acting crazy.